What's up guys, Philip here, and I am back in the garage to review a piece of equipment that I've had for quite a while now. I've used quite a bit and I've got a pretty good idea of what I think about it, and that is the Titan Fitness fan bike. Now I am in the middle of a powerlifting prep, so this puppy hasn't been used very much, but I have gotten some good time on it, and I would like to kind of share my thoughts with you, compare it to another bike and tell you what I think. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I do have a cheat sheet with me. What do I look like? No fake 24/7 preparing for these? No, absolutely not. So just to run down a few of the specs for this bike, it is 50 inches tall with an adjustable seat height of 33 inches to 42.75 inches. Now it does have a total footprint of 50.25 inches long by 20.375 inches wide. And it has an overall product weight, the overall bike weight of 111 pounds with a 330 pound weight capacity. And it is covered in a powdered black powder coat. So with those in mind, why would you get an air bike as opposed to another piece of cardio equipment? Well, if you're like me and you like your cardio sucking, but for not that long, this thing is for you. It's for more of an anaerobic conditioning than an aerobic steady state cardio. It's used mainly for short intervals and to really get that heart rate going through maximum effort. So with that being said, a few things that I like about this bike. Number one, it's very maneuverable. It has these ridiculous off-road tires. They come standard on this bike, and that is coupled with a textured handle in the back, which makes this thing with a 111 pound weight capacity very easy to move around in a home gym. That is critical, guys. If you have a lot of equipment in your space, then you definitely want to be able to move it around, and I have a lot of stuff in this space. So it's very helpful for me to be able to move this very easily to a spot where I would like to use it, but then also store it away when I am done using it. So very, very cool feature of this bike. Now, the second pro would be that it's fairly smooth. It does have a chain drive system, which is not as smooth as a belt drive system, but it is relatively smooth when you're using it. It doesn't rattle too much, I wouldn't say. So, you know, it does the job. Again, it's not as smooth as a belt drive, but it is smooth enough to where it's not like too rattly when you are using it. Now, moving on to the next pro, and that would be that this bike comes standard with some premium features. It has a built-in bottle holder, although that bottle holder is not big enough for many bottles, especially not shaker cups. They don't want you getting huge if you use this bike. So no protein shakes for you guys. But it also, as I mentioned, has these ridiculous off-road tires. So if you do want to take it and use it outside, you can do that. Now it does, again, have that handle in the back, and those coupled together, the off-road tires and the handle, will allow you to move this around very easily. And last but not least, it does have this LCD monitor with an adjustable phone holder, which is very nice. And that phone holder has a sticky pad so that if you are using this for more than about 8 minutes, which I would not recommend because of another reason, your phone will sit there and you can watch whatever you want to on there. Now, moving on, this, again, the monitor is a simple but effective monitor. It does not have too many metrics, too many modes. It has 2 intervals, which I really, really like. It has 20 on, 10 off, and 10 on, 20 off, and those run for 8 rounds in that 4-minute interval. And I really, really like using those. When I use this thing, it's typically after a workout, and it's just to really gas myself, to really get that feeling that I really got something accomplished in this workout. And those two intervals are good for different reasons. Now, if you want to do the 20 on 10 off, you can go a little bit less hard for those 20 seconds, but you get less rest. However, if you want to go 10 seconds on, 20 off, you can absolutely push the limits with this thing for those 10 seconds and get that 20 seconds off for 8 rounds. And for, at least for me, doing 1 round all out of those 4 minutes, 8 intervals of those, man, this thing will wear you out. So if you are not ready to ride the devil's tricycle, don't even consider this thing. But moving on, last thing that I will say, at least as far as pros are concerned, is it's fairly budget friendly. Now, it is coming in at $700. Currently, that is retail price. If you know Titan, they have an interesting marketing tactic, of running constant sales, putting things on sale for around what they should have been in the first place. So do not buy this or any other Titan product for that matter at full price. Wait until you find this thing on sale. I believe I paid like $560, $570 for this as opposed to that $700 price tag. And I would say overall for that price, $570, you know, it's worth it. $700, would I pay that? Right now, no, and that is because of a couple of negatives. Now, first one, and I put this after all the pros, because if I said it first, you probably wouldn't have watched the rest of the video, is the QC, guys. Titan is not known for their QC, and it's not fair to completely write them off based on one bad experience. I've had a lot of good experiences with Titan, but that's kind of the thing with them. You have the possibility of having a good and a bad experience with them. And unfortunately on this one, I had a bad experience. When I got this bike, it was packaged well, no damaged parts, like damage from impact or anything. And it was fairly easy to assemble, but I noticed while assembling this piece, that the inside where the bike actually, the bike seat goes into this tube right here, was completely rusted out. And that was brand spanking new right out of the box. And it was causing a lot of trouble with the adjustment height of the seat. Now, I did 3-in-1 oil it and it made it much better. It operates much more smoothly, although not perfect. But that's a problem, guys. When you buy a piece of equipment this expensive, you don't want to see something like blatant rusting in a tube like that, which affects the performance of the piece of equipment. Now, again, you know, every company has these instances, and Titan is not the only one. I want to just say that. I've had bad experiences with other companies too. Probably would have made it right, but that's not something you ever want to see with a piece of equipment. So Titan, if you are watching this, you're probably not. Please make sure to do better in the future regarding that kind of stuff. I know I'm not the first person. I'm definitely not the first person. So that is the biggest con with this piece of equipment. Now, a couple other ones to mention. It is fairly little in the tension department. That's I guess a bad way to say it. It is not very difficult. With a bike like the Rogue Echo bike, you are going to get much more tension. It's much more difficult to crank on these handles. That's something that I was very disappointed with when I first got this bike. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just a little too easy to pedal. And so it makes it just too easy to go all out. When I go all out, I want to feel like it is kicking my butt, like I'm having to put everything into it to, you know, to really keep it moving. But I don't feel that with this. I feel like, again, you know, you can ghost ride it. Once that chain gets going, it builds up some momentum, and you just basically have to keep it going through effort. It's not actively trying to slow down sometimes, it feels like, which You know, that could be a good or a bad thing. I would say that, you know, it is easier for smaller people or, you know, maybe female users who are not really, you know, power lifters, not 6'3", 255. But for me, for somebody like me that's, you know, 6'3", 255, used to lifting heavy weights, I would like it to be a little bit easier or a little bit harder to pedal so that I feel like I was getting a little bit better workout. Now, moving on to my last con is again the chain drive, guys. With the chain drive, you are going to have to maintain it. I have had to, you know, grease and oil the chain and the pedals and all that kind of stuff just to make sure it's not screeching and creaking, because it has in the past with my use of this bike. So it's not right now. It's fairly easy to take care of, but it is something that you will have to do. So keep in mind that you will have to maintain this more than a belt-driven bike. Now, with that being said, with this overall package, I feel like this bike, in the past when it first came out, it was a fantastic option. It had the premium features. It was a copy of the Assault bike at a better price. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You know, why not pick it up? But I feel like this bike has not, you know, stood the test of time as well. And so I will compare it to another budget bike, not the Echo bike, because that's like comparing a Ferrari to a Miata. We're not going to do that. Another budget bike, the Bells of Steel Blitz bike. Took a look at that one. Right now it is $750 with free shipping, and you get a free flag when you buy it. I see you, Bells of Steel. But it is a belt-driven system. It has the monitor. It comes with the drink holder, the wind guard, which this one has as well, I forgot to mention. And it is just an overall, it looks like a better bike. So if I didn't have a bike right now, again, I'm overall happy with this, but if I didn't have a bike right now and I was looking for a budget bike that delivered the most value, I would probably go with that Bells of Steel Blitz bike. Again, it has a belt drive. It isn't going to require as much maintenance. I'm sure it has a little bit more resistance than this one, just due to how it operates. I mean, it has a lot of those premium features. It doesn't have the OffRoad tires, which are really nice on this, but I probably would lean towards the Bells of Steel Blitz bike. But that tangent aside, getting back to this bike, I do think that it is still a good piece. I think that it is a solid option, and if it is for the right person, it's a good piece. Wow, that was a really good way to put it. But it has a lot of features that are very nice. So if you are a person that is not looking for a bike that has a ton of resistance, you're just looking for a good cardio piece that has an okay monitor, that, you know, has some of those premium features, and you don't mind keeping up with the bike, then this is a good piece for you. Again, I would lean towards the Blitz bike right now though. So those are just my thoughts on this bike, guys. I hope that this was informative, and I'm not an expert on bikes, so I will do my best to answer any questions you might have, but feel free to drop any questions in the comments below if you know I didn't answer anything that you were thinking about. So I appreciate you guys tuning in as always, and I'll catch you on the next one.